What's up, magical humans? I'm Mia Magic. Welcome back to Your Most Magical Life. Today we are talking about how to see, read, interpret signs, symbols, and synchronicities from the universe. This has been one of the greatest practices and most supportive pieces of my spiritual journey and my personal life. Because truly, I have found that every single thing is information, everything is divination, everything has an opportunity to be really deeply interpreted and really looked at. And I'm going to share some of the stories that have made that really obvious for me and that have helped me so deeply to understand, wow, I need to be paying closer attention to that. There are so many different ways that you can interpret the language of the universe. And what I have found is that it really is speaking to us. It is communicating with us all the time, literally all the time. And we have the opportunity not only to be able to understand the way that it's communicating with us, but to be able to communicate back and speak in return and respond to the universe. So this is a big piece of ritual and ceremony. Coming into altered states of consciousness, whether that's just with breath or meditation or dance or movement, or if you engage with plant medicine or anything else like that. There's so many different ways we can reach these altered states of consciousness. And from that place, that is where we are more attuned, more open to, more aware of this language that the universe is speaking to us all the time. One of the things that I'm most passionate about in terms of interpreting that a lot of people don't talk about very often is that your body is actually a whole divination map itself. So the other day I was walking outside and I stepped on something on my left foot. Oh my goddess, it hurt so bad. I still have this crazy bruise on the bottom of my foot. It's ow, this huge rock that I didn't see and it just punctured my foot. Left foot, roots, left side, feminine. How am I disconnected? How am I ungrounded? How am I resisting my creative flow or my abundance or my sensuality? What am I not paying attention to? Because our feet are literally our roots. How are we connected to the earth, which is also connected to ourselves and our body? Was I out of my body? Was I in my head and just blah, 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 spinning in my mind and not paying attention and feeling like that solid stillness of a tree, right? Doesn't mean unmoving, but it's a centeredness. It's a grounded stillness internally that then allows us to operate in a certain way in our lives. Every organ's function has something that can be more deeply interpreted. Every single one of the elements, right? When water, the other day, my friend's bath overflowed and then was dripping down through her living room through a light fixture. So it seems oh, whoa, this is crazy. But if you really look at it, it's oh, okay. So the bath was an intention to engage in self-care, to tend to nurture oneself. The water overflowed. So water is emotions generally when it's something like that. It can be our sensuality, our creativity as well, but I definitely interpreted that as the emotions were overflowing because she was definitely in an emotional state. So the emotions were overflowing. It came down through the walls of the house. The house definitely is your body, represents our physical body. It's what houses our body, and our body is what houses our soul. So it comes running down through the house. The emotions are affecting the body, maybe not feeling super great. And then it comes through the light. What shines. So the emotions are coming through what's meant to be shining. We had to turn the lights off. We had to keep the lights off because the water is running through them. So it seems like this is just such a coincidence, but everything is communication. Everything is information. Everything is divination. The light is turned off because of the overflowing of the emotions, of the waters. There's a little too much water flowing. There's a lot of tears going on, which is fine. Of course, it's beautiful. It's so important to cry. But how are we turning off our light, or how are we not allowing ourselves to shine when we let the emotions overflow? Another story like that was I was at this retreat and there was a lot of drama going on. And it had just so happened that I was the person that everyone kept coming to tell all their kind of dirty secrets and laundry to. And I finally just told the teacher, I was I'm not available for this. This needs to be talked about in the open. We need to handle this. And she was super resistant to that. She like didn't want to take responsibility for the fact that there was some shit stirred up, and she was participating in it in some way. You know, I wasn't sure what was really fully happening, but I was just like, this is not in alignment for us to be doing deep magical work together. And as someone else was going to tell her that, she was like really resistant and being like, no, like you guys just need to take care of it. Like I'm not doing this, da da da. And something fell over, big giant fronds of pampas grass, what is in my wreath up there. And that shit caught fire. And there was this big blazing explosion. Not an explosion, but you know what I mean? Like went up in flames really fast. It's super dry grass. Right as she was resisting responsibility. And she blamed it on us. She was like, oh, all of this fire, like you guys did that. You guys are all fired up. I was like, no, girl, you're being shown that something in your container is not being held, like something needs to burn, something needs to die. There's something going on that needs to be alchemized, that needs to be transmuted, something that needs to fall away, right? Fire is the great transformer. So when we look at what happens with fire out in nature, yeah, it destroys life. But then that next year, when we had some fires in Malibu here, oh my God, it's the next year, the wildflowers, you guys, you'd never seen so many wildflowers. You'd never seen the hills more green and more alive and more colorful than they'd been. It was just so magnificent. And so there is lesson in the fire. There's lessons when all the elements show up, right? How does the earth communicate? All of the plants, every single plant has some type of medicinal quality or capacity. Something that I learned about tobacco, right? We've turned tobacco into something that's addictive or can be seen as bad or wrong, as like harmful to us. Did you know that the flowers of tobacco actually cure pneumonia? It's like, whoa, the thing that we have used to sort of toxify the lungs actually is one of the things that can cure the lungs. And I was reading this book called Thus Spoke the Plant. She was sharing about it. And it's because pneumonia, right, is water. So it's like grief, sadness, tears, emotions, filling our lungs. Our lungs, the breath of life. Our lungs are our first place, the first line of defense against sickness or illness in our bodies. So, of course, the thing that we would use for the lungs is then like a thing that we could use for the lungs. So there are so many ways that we can interpret the signs and the signals and the symbols of the language of the universe, but these are just some of the tidbits that have been so impactful for me. And so some of my absolute favorite, most simple ways to understand signs, symbols, synchronicities in the universe are through animals. And so I do live in nature, which is great. I highly recommend everyone moving out of cities because I think that if we just stop telling them that we need them, that they might stop existing. I mean, it's going to take a while, but you know, I love those places where like nature has fully taken over again. It's like wrapping itself all through the cars and the buildings and all that stuff. I just think that that is delightful. So I do live in nature, but you don't have to. It can be when you see an animal on the cover of a book, or that someone's wearing on a shirt, or that shows up on a TV commercial. Or I remember I was driving one time in the middle of nowhere. Like, where was I? I don't know, like out, deep in the desert. And I looked up at the top of this mountain and there was this huge elephant statue, this big sculpture of an elephant. And I was like, okay, that's very interesting. So we can look at the way that an animal crosses our path, literally and figuratively. And so when this is the tail of the fox that I skinned many years ago. She's shedding a little bit. Okay, well, we got to figure that out. That's for another time. And I was actually having a really beautiful, deep experience I had just finished this incredible tantra retreat with Layla Martin. And I asked her after the retreat, I was like, babe, how do you go and live life like that, which is so open, so free? We were basically naked the entire week. Men weren't allowed within 100 yards of the temple space. Women just healing and laughing and crying and having anger orgasms and joy orgasms and just like the most magical, unbelievable, intimate setting and experience. And I asked her, how do you go and do that and then go and like be in the regular world. And she was like, oh, well, being a tantrika is really a lot like hiding in plain sight. It's about how you feel. It's this internal experience in reality. Great. That was in June and for my birthday. And then I went home that Christmas, and on Christmas night, I left my mom's house and went to go and gather with some people who were going to be doing some singing. And I found a fox on the road. Some of you already know this story, but I had one of the most profound experiences of my entire life. I felt the goddess animate my body. I'd never picked up like something dead on the road. I was like, why am I doing this? What is happening? And I picked her up. My dad's a hunter. He wouldn't help me. His taxidermist wouldn't even help me. He was like, oh, foxes smell bad. Like, you don't want to mess with that. It's like, okay, whatever. So I talked to a doctor friend of my dad's, and who my dad told me not to talk to, but I did anyway. And he was like, oh, well, actually animal skin just peels right off much easier. Whatever. Anyways, he was right. I ended up skinning it so well, like fully expertly, had never done anything like that. It was like a full past life memory. And I looked up fox medicine. And the first thing it said is foxes are known for hiding in plain sight. So that story, a little long, is so important for us to remember that everything has a message. Everything has a message for us. That fox came to me to be an anchor and a confirmation of that tantric way of life for me. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to be like fully in my sex witchery or my priestesshood all the time. Like, I'm definitely more on the teacher side, right? Like, I come here and talk to you guys. But that was so important for me. It's like, I can be this right in here. I can do this. I can live this practice right in here, and it doesn't need anything or anyone else. Peacocks. So great. I found all these peacock feathers, and peacocks are about being seen, right? Like, they see us, all those eyes, like how they look at us, but then also like, look at me, look at my big tail, look how fabulous I am. So animals are such a great way, and I have another video about spirit animals. That's such a great way to interpret signs and symbols from the universe. Like when a hawk flies overhead, when you see an owl at night, even like cats, dogs, like they have messages and information for us. So you say peacock feathers and the cat goes wild, right? Like, no. Some of the easiest ways that people will always talk about in seeing signs and symbols is with numbers, like angel numbers. One of the ways that I think is most impactful to utilize angel numbers is to, you can check what they mean if you want, but what I really like to do and what I encourage all of my students in witch school to do is to create a meaning for yourself. What is the 1? What is the 2? What is the 3? What do the 4, that like stable legs of a table kind of, what do those numbers mean to you so that you can create a more personalized response or understanding of how the universe is communicating? So if it's 1111, what does that mean for you? What does that mean to you? What does 333 mean to you? And if you start seeing it and you notice like, oh, this particular thing was happening, or I was doing this when I saw that, or, oh, this person said something to me, God, when I was doing this at this time. And so I know that this is something I need to listen to, something I need to pay attention to, something that I need to really look at and be aware that I'm being communicated with. So if a person says something to you at a particular time, you have this opportunity to think, okay, wow, well, 333 means this to me, or 555 means this to me, and this person said this to me at that time. So how is that in alignment with, or how does that remind me to align with the thing that I associate with that meaning? If 555 is your angel number, or 333 means that you're in the right place at the right time, it's like, are you? Do you feel the angels? Are you being aware of them? If it's 888, is it bringing in abundance? And we have this beautiful opportunity to read those symbols all the time. Another really simple way that we talk about a lot in witch school, so if any of you are interested in diving deeper and really getting to know your magic and be in a container with me, witch school is available for you. It's so amazing. You can start it at any time, self-paced. We talk about this a lot, but is colors. Colors communicate the chakras, energy, they communicate feelings, sensations. So what do colors mean to you? You can create a relationship with the chakra system, but that's only 7 colors, right? It is like kind of the spectrum of the rainbow, but then we can think about how colors blend, or things like gold, right? What do you feel when you experience a certain color? And then how can you use that color to communicate, like what I'm doing here? All of this is communication to the universe. Everything that I have around me, all of the ways that my office is set up is communication back to the universe from me. I've got all these flowers hung up here, all flowers from rituals that I've done, my crowns, you know? It's like, here's a reminder. This is what makes me feel magical. This is what allows me to know that I'm speaking back through colors to the universe, letting her know, or the goddess know, what it is that I desire and that I want to create and manifest in my life. And then of course, there's simple things like when a person comes up and you've been like thinking about this book or talking about this thing, and then someone comes up and says to you, it's like, you're meant to read that book or you're meant to go to that thing. So something that happened to me was I'd been thinking about this retreat. It's called the Hoffman process. It's like this thing that lots of entrepreneurial people do. And one of my friends just went, Mickey Agarwal, enjoyed it so much, had such a powerful experience. Many of my friends have gone throughout the last year, several years. But as soon as I heard her experience, and I decided, wow, like there must be some stuff in here for me. There's like even deeper inner child work that I obviously haven't done yet. And it's really time for me to do it. This shit was like so crazy. I sat down to write in my journal on my own dining room table and picked up a pen that was sitting there, and it says the Hoffman process on the fucking pen. I'm like, how did this get here? My partner's ever been to the Hoffman process. I've never been to the Hoffman process. This pen was literally not here like 30 minutes ago when I was here. And it's just like, oh, hello. You gotta go to the Hoffman process, girl. I'm like, shit. So I just fucking got on the computer and like signed up immediately. You know, that's how easy and simple it can be. And then the piece that I want to leave you guys with, that this is so huge, and I have a lot of information in Witch School about your intuition or your intuition. I like to call it intuition, your inner wisdom, your inner guidance system. It's hard to listen to. We've got a ton of videos about cultivating intuition in Witch School. So again, if you would like to join us, please do so. You will absolutely love it. It's so much fun. And we gather together twice a month to have live calls so that everyone can be really in the magic together. That same day that the bath overflowed, when I walked in, I literally thought to myself, oh, someone's showering. I could hear the water running. And I was going to ask, and then I was like, why would I ask who's showering? Like, she lives with 2 other people. Someone's just taking a fucking shower, you know? It was like, but if I'd asked her, she would have remembered that the bath was running and she would have turned it off before it overflowed. So our intuition can be such a subtle whisper. It can maybe not make sense. You can not fully know why you would think something like that, or it can be so small. So the word that really is just subtle. It can be subtle. It can be a whisper. Last year for my birthday, I was with my partner. We weren't living together at the time. We went over to his house and I saw this little green bag outside of his backpack, and I was about to say something to him, but then I was like, oh, it's right by his backpack. He'll see it. The next morning when it's my birthday, he's like, what the fuck? Where is it? I was like, what? He's like, your birthday present. I don't know what is going on. I had it. It was in this little green bag. It's like, oh, I knew that and I should have said something about it and I didn't. As simple as like the other day, we went to the beach and it was hot. It was so hot. It was like 85 degrees. And I was like, I don't need a jacket. It's so hot. And like the moment that the sun started going down, the temperature just dropped by like 30 degrees. And it was so cold. Maybe not 30. That's an exaggeration. 20 degrees. And it was cold. And I was like, damn it. I knew I should have brought a jacket. It can be such small, tiny little whispers. But I promise you, the more you start even just testing those out, like see how it goes, right? With the thing like, I don't know why I'm asking you this, but is somebody taking a shower? Oh my God, no, I left the bath on. Like, you know, see, try it out, practice, check in with your intuition and say, okay, like, do I need to be asking about this? Should I be checking on this? Should I be bringing a jacket? And then like, if you do and you don't need it, it's like, it's fine, but you listened. And that's the biggest thing with finding signs and symbols and synchronicities from and with and in the universe and in our daily lives is that the more we listen, the more it knows it can count on us. It can trust us. It can communicate with us. And that is such a beautiful divine gift. That allows the universe to be like, oh, cool, you're listening. Oh, wow, you're more magical than most people. Oh, wow, you can hear me. And don't we all know as human beings how deeply the need is to feel heard? We all want to be able to express our truth. We all want to say what we mean and how we feel and have that be met, have it be held. I feel like because we're emanations of the universe, it feels that same way. The way that the trees, the mountains, they want to be seen for what they are. I'm looking out at them and I could just cry at how much I love them, how deeply I feel them communicating to me. I love them. I love them. And I feel that when I love them, maybe they don't feel it the way I do, but they experience it. And then that love is mirrored back to me. And it's the same way with hearing, listening to that. It's like, hey, I said that. I told you. I tried to tell you. I was up here whispering to you, but you didn't listen. But then when you do, it's like, oh, thank you so much for listening. The same as we all feel when someone really hears us, when someone really gives us an opportunity to share and speak our minds and say what we're thinking and feeling, and someone really is there to receive it. It feels good. It makes you feel supported and nourished and nurtured. And we could all use that. So these are some beautiful little amazing tidbits that I highly recommend you just start playing with in your life and seeing how they all fit in. It's been really the most, and the things like the fire and the bathtub, interpret what happens in your life. Just try practicing. Same with dreams, right? Try practicing and seeing how it feels and how it affects the way that you then relate to and regard your reality on the flip side of it. Because I promise it will have an impact. I promise it will change things. I promise that like the plant that you walked past that you never noticed on your neighborhood walk, and then 2 days later you're feeling some type of way and you Google that plant, 9 times out of 10, for me, 10 times out of 10, I will find that, oh my goddess, that plant is exactly what I needed for this thing, whether it's womb healing or lungs or eyes or skin or a rash or whatever. Stomach ache. Oh, that's the exact plant that I need right now. And all of these are ways that the universe is communicating with us all the time. Oh, highly recommend an app called Seek. I think it's called Seek. That app is incredible. It literally identifies every plant I've ever shown to it. You don't even need phone service. So I go up obviously into the woods and the mountains where there's no phone service all the time, and it can still tell me what the plants are. And it doesn't always have like the medicinal properties of them, but you can look those up later. At least it will tell you what the plant is. And it's totally free. It's amazing. It's like one of my favorite apps ever. I'm just like taking pictures of every plant I walk past. So just start keeping a record, pay a little closer attention, and your life will become infinitely more magical. I'm Mia Magic. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to hear more from me, please join my email list below. And if you are interested in becoming a student of Witch School, we would absolutely love to have you. And as always, I will continue welcoming you to your most magical life.